I think we're now live on all of them. Okay. All right. So, hello to everyone across the world. This can I see it? This is for Miss Shelby. So, Shelby, you sent these questions. Shelby is a student that is in college, and I get this from time to time. College students asking questions um, for their assignments for their professors. And so, in the midst of all of my programs, I decided to stop and make this video for her because Shelby, there's no way I could sit there and type. And if I use Siri to type for me, like I typically always do, it would misspell and you would be further more confused. So, oh, I forgot Instagram. And so, in an effort, let me go live here on Instagram. So, therefore, in an effort to avoid confusions and do this at a fast, thorough, slow to ensure accuracy, I decided to make this video. So you may have to watch this video over again if I'm going too fast. And if any follow-up questions, any and all of you can put them on the comments. So, Eric, you want to read the first question?
What makes Buddhism different from any other religion?
What makes Buddhism different from any other religion? Well, by the way, I printed out all of your questions here. Ajahn Jayasaro asserted that Buddhism is the most comprehensive and effective educational system the world has ever seen. It is our job in Buddhism to test out the teachings of the Buddha to see if it is in fact effective, efficient, straight to the point, can alleviate suffering, quick, now, see results. So everyone know that I was originally born and raised Catholic, and I would assert that in the Bible it talks a lot about the what, but don't really give us a whole lot of hows. And some of the primary example is if someone were to smack you across the face, and the great Lord says, turn the other cheek, the question would be, well, how do you do that? Especially if there's a 38 in the glove box in the midst of living in Florida or Texas. So we struggle in humanity of the how, in great difficulty in dealing with stress, agitation, attachment, love, despair, letting go, forgiveness, forgiving others, and asking for forgiveness. And likewise, I have students from all different religions, which I would not name here for the sake of peace and not, egging on certain um, um, controversies. I have other students from other religions who also knock on my door in helping them trying to alleviate some of this psychological pain and suffering. So I would say that Buddhism is different from any other religion because of how comprehensive it is. 84,000 teachings, 84,000 different types of medicine. It's like a pill for each issue. If you had anger, we have loving kindness meditation. If you had greed, we teach you generosity. The Buddha gave discourses on how to save money, how to set aside a portion so that you can save it for a rainy day. The Buddha taught us how to love our wives, what we should do for our wives, how we should treat our parents, how we should honor our parents, what to do for people who have already been deceased, how to honor the dead, how we can contribute merits. All of these existential questions in Buddhism seems to be working out for me. And hopefully it works out for all of you as it addresses all of the things that really cause us to ask why and how, why. And that's what makes it different because it is quite comprehensive to me. And hopefully it's comprehensive and effective for the rest of you. And it is our job as monks to fill in the gap because you can't get everything from AI. You can't get everything from Google. And therefore, if you read the Nikayas yourself, it would be very confusing. So that's why, you have to reach out to a good, qualifying, authentic, experienced teacher to explain to you what are the precepts, what is the Noble Eightfold Path. So I think that is a good, satisfying answer. If not, I can extend on it. Number two, would you read number two for me, Gabriel?
What makes Buddhism different from any other religion?
Oh no, that's number one. Number two,
That's one.
yeah.
How does Buddhism explain the origin of the universe and the world we live in? Can science and Catholic religion coexist?
You have to excuse my students. They just ate. What did you just ate earlier?
Wingstop.
Wingstop chicken. Yeah. So number two says, how does Buddhism explain the origin of the universe and the world we live in? Can science and Catholic religion coexist? So let's address. So Ashley, so that's because the questions are stick together. So we'll just address the second one. Okay. How does Buddhism explain the origin of the universe and the world we live in? This answer was found in the book What Buddhists Believe by Tamananda. And in Buddhism and in science, if we sat here and we debated, it's a long debate, you can imagine, because all you have to do is look up evolution, Darwin's theory, the Big Bang theory on Google or YouTube. It just goes forever. And then there's follow-up questions. And then there's more questions about, then who created the Big Bang? Like, is there a creator behind the Big Bang and the stars and the moon and the sky and the rockets? So in Buddhism, the Buddha touched up on this when other monks asked him, and he said, it's irrelevant to the existence of human pain and suffering at this time. So there's different type of Buddhist monks in the world, and I would classify myself as a clinical Buddhist monk. That means I engage with the public. Everyone's known that over the past 8 years, I've been engaged in Buddhist psychotherapy. That means, students come to me with problems in their life. They're depressed, they're anxious, they're suicidal, they're homicidal, whatever. And I have to meet them where they're at. Now, of course, along the way, if they were to ask me, go ahead, why don't you guys ask me where the universe got started, and Pluto and Mars and Venus, and where? Go ahead, ask me.
Where did the planet get started?
Where did the universe start?
Yeah, irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant?
Because it's such a, I guess you could say in a way it's a what's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue. Hold up.
So it has nothing to do with the existing suffering over here, which could be depression, anxiety, suicidal, homicidal, right? If there's active suffering right now in one's life, asking where the universe got started doesn't really solve anything, right? Doesn't solve it. It actually leads to more arguments, and then people throw things in the room, and we all know how that goes and how that ends up. So Buddhism asserts that there are causes and conditions. And when I explain this to you and to many, it's like, where did this piece of fabric come from? Where do you guys think it come from? Where did it come from? Where'd your pants come from?
The store.
Where'd your shirt come from? Okay, so this would be made in Thailand. But if you go to Thailand and go to the actual factory, it's like, oh, okay, well, how did you get the color? And the color could be from India. The dye could be from India, but the fabric from Thailand. And then like, well, who put this together? And then, dozens of people, and so on, and tracing back, and so on and so on. It's like a very long line of interconnectedness of people, no different than your laptop, your phones, everything that you guys are looking through here. Like this little light right here that shines a light in my face. Like, well, who made this? Well, it says made in China, Sakar International. So if we were to go there and it's like, okay, well, that's nice. And then if you were to trace back and like, well, this LED, particularly this one LED, where did it came from? And again, it could be like Taiwan, but the piece of metal underneath here could be from Japan. And then that's why we see some complications when it comes to certain technology assembled here but was made here. And I'm like, what? You know, have you seen that before? Assembled in America, but it was made in China or Japan, whatever. And like, what? Why couldn't y'all do it all together in one place? So anyway, the causes and conditions for certain products, material things can trace back Lord knows when, and how old were these fabrics, right? They knew they old and what machine was made. So when we look at the universe, the origin of the universe in Buddhism, the Buddha remained quite silent on some of these questions. And it is also no different than the discourse that he gave when you are shot by an arrow. If you're shot by an arrow and you were to ask, where does the arrow come from? Like, who made it? Who shot me? Is he black, white, Puerto Rican, Chinese, Japanese? What is the tip made of? And what kind of bow did he actually use? So the Buddha says, you would be what before you get your answers?
Dead.
That's right. Deader than a doorknob. So in Buddhism, we try to remove it quickly, fast, effectively, efficiently, and not ponder too much on, how, where, why, when, who. So I hope that explains that. Now, this is a valid question if all of your spirituality needs have been met, meaning you are spiritually advanced, there is no active suffering in your life, you're well content and happy, then you can move on to just sit there and get a PhD in studying the universe, because that's what most people do, right? They study the stars, the moon, and everything else thereafter. So I hope that does it justice for that question. Okay, so you read that.
Can science and Catholic religion coexist?
So yeah, so this is a big debate, right? Can science and the Catholic religion coexist? Can they live in harmony with each other? Um, yeah, there's a big debate where of which somewhere down the line, historically, people thought the misconception was this is what the Catholic Church said. There's a God, great Jesus, Lord Christ, and we're going to ignore any scientific facts down the road, whether or not he did exist, whether or not um, the empirical evidence behind it, or historical facts and physical findings, the tomb, this was his fabric, these were the thorns, this was the exact cross, this is where he lay, this is where he resurrected. But however, after a quick review, does the Catholic Church and science like brothers and sisters? Yes, they do complement each other. And most Catholic priests were named, and most Catholic priests were prominent researchers and scientists in the field. Um, and historically, I believe, was it Galileo was Catholic. If you look at some of the debates historically, I'm not a historian. Um, there are a couple on YouTube that if you make your comparison and contrast, you will see that there are many scholars that would say science and the Catholic world are in alignment with each other. Mm. The other thing I wanted to add was these type of debates, whether or not God exists or don't exist. When a person doesn't believe in God or higher power or higher being, and they live their life without a God, without a good working philosophy. For example, the Buddhist philosophy says, don't harm yourself, don't harm other people. When you live your life and govern your life independently, I really like to have a field day with some of these people, because I'm just like, well, how do you let go? How do you forgive? This is just what happened. You just went through a breakup. This person just cheated on this person. This person just stole from you. This guy broke into your house. How do you deal with that without getting arrested? How do you deal with that without resent anger, hatred in your heart. Um, and when a person prolongs this type of investigation, it delays a lot of time. And when a person turns, for example, into atheists or the secular world, not believing in anything, and try to govern themselves the way that they have independently, you know, research in criminology shows that they're more likely to commit certain crimes and sexually motivated crimes. So again, we got to reel it back in and look at the clinical aspect of our life, whether or not we're suffering. And science got their own ordeal, the Catholic world's got their own ordeal. I've always taught that if you live your life as if you have to answer to some of these gods one day, then how would you justify the things that you have done while you lived on this planet? A good life equals a good death. And if you don't live life well, and if in fact the Lord Christ did exist, you're going to have your judgment day, or you're not. And if Buddha exists, then you're going to have to explain to him why you cheat, lie, kill, steal, intoxicating substance, sexual misconduct. Okay. So, Gabe, you want to read that one?
Does Buddhism have a deity or multiple deities?
Does Buddhism have a deity or multiple deities? So the Vajrayana world has the Mahayana and Vajrayana world has a lot of deities, some of the Buddhas that comes over there. Now, I don't belong to the Vajrayana or Mahayana world. I belong in Theravadan, of which we pay homage, respect to the one and only historical Gautama Buddha, which is right behind me, Siddhartha Gautama, because we have historical evidence that he did in fact exist. He was born on this planet, raised on this planet, and achieved full enlightenment on this planet, on Earth. The other deities is a question mark, the same type of question mark above that I have previously answered. And so therefore, again, some traditions are not one size fit all. Theravada may not be a one size fit all for some of you. Mahayana may not, or Vajrayana, and vice versa. So you have to go with what resonates most with you. A lot of people suffer tremendously, so they go with the Lord of Compassion in the Vajrayana tradition. And so therefore they would pray and they would pay homage and respect to that particular Lord, to that particular deity, because they found comfort in their heart. So it is the meaning that people attach to certain deities in other traditions that they resonate with most. In Theravadins, no. And quite frankly, there's a lot that we have to go through in Theravadan world, 84,000 teachings, 45 Bibles, and commentaries. And quite frankly, I'm quite of a clinical monk where I focus on what's happening. Is this true, real, and correct? Okay, then that's where I need to go, the root source of the matter. And because I'm a scientific person myself, one who is science-based, I would, kind of scratch my head if there's no historical evidence. Everything I do is evidence-based, like the cognitive behavioral therapy. It is evidence-based. So therefore, if there's any doubts in anyone's mind about, well, why would you recommend us CBT? Well, because it's been around for like 50 years by Dr. Aaron Beck, and tracing back, the fathers of psychology in behavioral psychology. So everything I do is scientific, and if there's no scientific proof behind it, then I would scratch my head. And I don't typically sit here and scratch my head for long. It's a waste of time, and we have to move forward with 84,000 teachings to grasp and use and the clinical application and implications of it. And then there's a follow-up questions underneath that. How are they characterized, and what is their role in the religion? Yeah, I think I just mentioned that. But there's I found a website that actually breaks down a couple of them. Actually, let me see if this one will give me tantric deities. Um, they're the Pure Land, Amitabha, Avalokiteshvara, and then there was the white. Oh God, there's a lot in Vajrayana world. Trust me. I'm trying to pull it up as fast as I can. Medicine Buddha. Okay, so the five major bodhisattvas, Menchu, Manchushri, Kuan Yin. The origin of Terras. All right, so it Terras are Buddhist savior goddesses, most popular in Nepal. So you literally, I mean, if I sit here and go through every single one of them as a Theravadan monk, it would take probably till tomorrow. So I would invite you all to put in Google deities in Buddhism, and it will come out a whole. You're gonna have a field day reading it. So each one is characterized. Each one has a particular role, and again, it depends on that person, their personality type, nature, style, disposition, and what they veer towards that particular deity at this time in their life. Okay, and that one.
How does Buddhism how does Buddhism view the concept of punishment and reward?
Huh. I might grab me a pen too, so I can start going down the list here. How does Buddhism view the concept of punishment and reward? Well, the law of cause and effect, which is karma. What goes around, what goes around comes back around. If you steal from other people, someone's gonna steal from you. If you're nice to other people, then somebody will be nice to you. Just examine your own karma. Right? Just examine your own karma. This is something that I have empirically observed my whole life, because my whole life was giving more and taking less. There's pictures, there's historical evidence of all of my friends that I grew up with back in the Woodlawn days, in the Lellman area of Pinellas County. I've lived in every corner of St. Petersburg, Florida. So all of the friends that I have had, I gave. That's just all I knew how to do. And in my life, I would say that I rarely suffered long. I suffered short, and it was that. And my students who are with me have seen many good fortunes, good things that happen, both material things and health and longevity and so on. So actually, some of my modern day students, they have this quote. It says, "Mess around and find out." But you can replace the word messing around with other explicit, not so nice words. And clearly, I think everyone, if you messed around in life and lie, cheat, kill, and steal, commit sexual misconduct, and don't refrain from intoxicating substance, you will see what the punishment is very quickly, and how that will compound your suffering, both mind and body. Okay. I'm going to read that below one right there.
Is there a belief in heaven and hell, or is the focus on achieving a state of enlightenment or nirvana?
Is there a belief in heaven and hell, or is the focus on achieving state of enlightenment or nirvana? Okay, so there are 6 rebirth realms in Buddhism. Okay, I'll give you a few. The human realm, and you can put 6 rebirth realm on Google, and it'll give you the whole explanation on each one, elements of each one. The human realm is considered a favorable rebirth realm, and the capacity for us to use our cognition for enlightenment. Then you have the hell realm, which is not pretty. You can only imagine in your mind. Let your mind entertain what hell actually really is. And there's a lot of illustrations that you can find online. There's also the heavenly realm, the demigods realm in Buddhism. But the gods there are not what the gods that y'all think. They will enjoy the fruits of what they have accumulated during their times on earth, but it's also impermanent and it will soon expire. It will actually expire. So they will take rebirth again. Our job in Theravada Buddhism is try not to take rebirths within the six rebirth realms. Are you entertained by the comments?
Yeah.
um, our focus in Theravada Buddhism is to achieve enlightenment. And at the time of death, if you let go of greed, anger, and ignorance, you will become a fully enlightened being, which is a saint. We call that arahant, Arahant, arahantship, which is also known as nirvana. The other definition of enlightenment or nirvana in this lifetime that you can experience is when you're present in the moment and you're not thinking about the past or the future, such as playing sports. Like these guys, they play airsoft. When they're playing airsoft, they are fully enlightened beings. They're in the present moment because, well, someone's popping at you. So you have to pay attention to what's happening. You can't think about your ex. You can't think about what did this happen or how many bills you got paid. Gonna have to pay tomorrow. Okay. And and then there's steps towards that enlightenment. We Theravadins give you all step by step cues and clues on how to do that. Okay, I hope that did that justice. That.
What is the role of karma in Buddhism, and how does it relate to punishment and reward? And is karma seen as a natural law or a form of divine judgment? I think we did the role of
Yeah, I think I already touched up on karma and with the concept of punishment and reward. It coincides with that. Karma works in mysterious ways. My life as an interpreter, serving all areas of law and medicine, as I get to watch people who give and people who don't give. And it's simple. And people who don't dedicate their body, speech, and mind for the benefit of others, they suffer greatly in their life and their family. And then you have generational karma that carries over. You suffer today as a direct result of karma that you have accumulated either in this lifetime or previous lifetimes. Sitting here trying to trace it would be the same thing as how the universe got started. So how did my karma get started? You sit there long enough and you would be delaying your own enlightenment. Okay, bottom one that I marked.
Is karma seen as a natural law or a form of divine judgment?
Mm. So the law of cause and effect is natural law. So you don't have to be Buddhist to observe karma. In the West, that's why we've seen people believe in instant karma. Remember instant karma?
yeah.
We see that a lot. Matter of fact, just Google it on YouTube, and you see there was this guy that robbed this woman of her purse and got struck by lightning twice within a minute. He took it, ran, got struck by lightning, got back up and tried to run away again and got popped again. Have you seen it?
Wasn't letting them go.
Yeah, yeah. Talk about God out to get you.
Yeah.
That's one hell of a story. So you don't have to be Buddhist to see karma, to observe karma, or study karma and see its results from people who've done bad or good in society. And that's my challenge for all of you, actually. My challenge for all of you is to observe karma, to study it, and develop a hypothesis and test it, and go and investigate stories so that you guys know what's going on, what's happening with karma. It's very interesting. I was fortunate enough to be an observant young man growing up. And when, as an interpreter, I drive patients around, they sit in the car and they love to talk. People love to talk. And I'm just sitting there as a young kid, gathering data, information, all in my ears, kind of like a tape recorder. So, therefore, that's that. Okay. And then, or and the question also asks, or a form of divine judgment. Well, divine judgment, right? Like again, when I teach this stuff, I tell people live your life as if one day you're going to meet Lord Karma. And if you meet Lord Karma and all of its representatives and a jury, a panel of karmic representatives, how are you going to justify what you did? Because right is right no matter everyone's doing it. Right is right no matter if they're all doing wrong, and wrong is wrong no matter, you get the point, right? A lot of people have this lawyer in their head where they justify um, things in life. Well, I'm going to do this because I couldn't afford this, or I have to take care of my family, so therefore I stole. And we got some of these ethical dilemmas, and so therefore in your life you'll study ethics and study morality, and in Buddhism we govern both of them so that you don't get stuck in these type of dilemmas where you don't have a good life and you will not have a good death, and you will live with a lot of pain, regrets, remorse. I mean, who wants to live like that 70 years old? The Dalai Lama said that if you live a good life, then you can relive it again when you're older. All right. You get to grab this paragraph.
How does the Buddhist understanding of the nature of reality and the self impact concepts of punishment and reward? Is there a sense of personal responsibility for one's actions, or is it more focused on breaking free from the cycle of suffering?
How does the Buddhist understanding of the nature of reality and the self impact concepts of punishment and reward? Is there a sense of personal responsibility for one's action, or is it more focused on breaking free from the cycle of suffering? You are the owner of your karma. Okay. What you do, if you do harm to yourself or other people, you will see its karmic effects. If not now, it will ripen whenever it ripens. According to the causes and conditions, it will ripen whenever it's going to ripen. Maybe not now, but maybe when you're 70, maybe when you're 40 years old. A lot of people ponder about this, right? They're like, well, I don't like this particular president. And I'm wondering why this president gets to reap all of the benefits and money and fame and glory, and karma seems to delay its time in punishing this particular president. Well, we hear that a lot with Trump, right? So happens to be President Trump because, he stirred up quite a pot there, right? But it's true. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm not Lord Karma. And I can't sit here and write an email to Lord Karma and be like, well, why are you not punishing Trump? Because Trump seems to stir up a lot of things going on in America. And he's just, driving around with Secret Service that we're paying for. So that is one example out of the many examples in society. But we can't really focus on them, right? We have to focus on our own deeds and action because we have much to do as humans, each and every single one of us. So you are the owner of your own karma. That's why be careful what you say when you are around other people, and take care of your thoughts when you are alone. Okay. Sense of personal response for one's, yes, you need to assume responsibility as required by law and ethics and morality. Okay. A lot of people like to blame other people. Well, I did that because my mother, I did that because my father, I did that because my girlfriend had did. Your blame, the blame game, and you eventually go down for the blame game that you came up with, the story and the narrative that you believed. So again, running away from yourself, running away from the truth. The Buddha said that nothing can be far from the truth, right? Three things cannot be hidden: the moon, the sun, and the truth. So therefore, eventually it will come up. Or is it more focused on breaking free from the cycle of suffering? You don't cause suffering to other people, therefore no suffering for you, or the lessening and mitigation of suffering for you, and eventually you will break free from the cycle of suffering, also known as samsara. So what's good is always going to be good, and what is not good is not going to be good. Okay. Okay. Eric, you want to read that one?
In
Can't go
what
live
ways
yet.
do Buddhist teachings on creation, deity, punishment, and reward relate to contem-
Contemporary.
contemporary ethical contem-
Contemporary.
contemporary ethical and social issues such as environmentalism, social justice, and human rights?
In what ways do Buddhist teaching on creation, deity, punishment, reward relate to contemporary ethical and social issues such as environmentalism, social justice, and human rights? The Buddha loved everybody. Okay, so let's break this down. Number one, everyone is equal in Buddhism. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Chinese, Japanese, across the board. Laos, Australian. Okay, all Homo sapiens, all Homo erectus, all humans are the same. So therefore, human rights should be equal and equitable across the board everywhere around the world. Everyone should not be classified as poor, middle, high class. Because you're not a doctor, you're this. Because you're that, you're this. You're low life. You're homeless. You're whatever. We have so much labeling when it comes to these things. Okay, the Buddha was not happy during his days in regards to the way how the caste system works in India. And so he was like, okay, this is not fair and this is not good. So I'm going to create my own religion. I'm going to create my own philosophy. And that he did. We call that Buddhism nowadays. Social issues, environmentalism. When it comes to environment, the Buddha said that a wise person does not harm his or her environment. And again, we have enough. There is so much trash in the Pacific Ocean right now that sea life started to thrive on the trash that we have thrown in the ocean with plastics and microplastics. I think they said that they were like baby crabs that were being able to reproduce on this plastic. So next time you guys eat crabs, yeah, you might have plastic in your bloodstream. Um, I mean, just the amount of trash that we throw in the ocean, it's disheartening. It very disheartening because I came from Eckerd College and we emphasize a lot on marine biology and saving the planet. When I have money, I go out and I buy For Ocean, that blue bottle thing that they get rid of five pounds of trash for every thing that you buy from For Ocean. So uh, environmentalism is a very big thing. And matter of fact, I'm getting into it, and I'm giving this great big talk this Sunday actually, on environmental justice, climate justice, and social justice. Social issues, same thing. Black lives matter, Asian lives matter, everybody's lives matter, blue lives matter. That needs to be re-examined again. When it came to social issue, we have a lot of issues. We created these issues because of greed, anger, and ignorance of the Four Noble Truth. Had everyone been Buddhist, we wouldn't have half the problem that we see nowadays. Very disheartening. So again, I like everyone to expand on this by doing your own independent research online, putting in social issues, environmentalism, social justice, climate justice, human rights. There is a whole list and a lot of nonprofit organization that is addressing it now, and organizing marches, organizing protests, and you know, the people's voice will be heard. The last one here, Gabe, if you can read the last one.
How does Buddhism approach the relationship between faith and reason when it comes to these concepts? Are there any tensions or conflicts that arise in this context?
How does Buddhism approach the relationship between faith and reason? And when it comes to these concepts, are there any tension or conflict that arise in this context? We're really chill. We're really chill. As Eric would always say, I'm just,
Chilling.
yeah, he's just so chill a little too long than everybody else.
Yeah.
Huh. So when it comes to faith and reason, right? Blind faith, which is if I were to tell you, you all should believe that the great Buddha was once alive and you all should pray to him and stuff like that. And then Eric would dissent, or Gabrielle to my left would dissent and said, yeah, well, I have this other reason and it's different than yours. I have this other explanation that is different than yours. In Buddhism, our standpoint is we don't argue. I mean, it's all there. Now you have AIs, you have Chat GPT that tells you you have the world in front of you. That is your phone. Meaning all the facts are all on there. Historical evidence is all on there. We don't really want to spend too much time arguing with people who probably are very rigid in their beliefs and understanding and convictions. So, therefore, our job is not to argue and create tension and conflicts. Now, elsewhere in the world, there have been conflicts with Buddhism from other religions, and I'm not sure what's going on over there. Matter of fact, if you put conflicts in Buddhism, you would see a bunch of things that's going on between Buddhism and the Rohingyas, Muslims and Buddhism. It's crazy. What's the root cause of it? I don't know. I don't get into it. We Buddhists try to chill, try to leave everybody alone. We try to go into the forest and sit there and look at our own faults, our own flaws, our own defilements, and our own unwholesome deeds, actions, and thoughts, so that we don't, create harm to ourselves and to other people. It's just that simple and easy. However, society has evolved into complications, and my God is awesome and your God sucks, and vice versa. Your God is awesome and my God sucks. The religion war thing. So by practicing right speech, is it true necessary? Beneficial, and is the timing of the speech correct for all that is involved? Would mitigate a lot of harm and a lot of egoistic problems that arises out of leadership, that we've seen people in power and leadership waging war over false speech, wrong speech, hateful speech. So I would invite everyone to, look at the comprehensive review and totality of Buddhism, and I'm available for additional questioning. Uh, if you all have it, I'd like to conclude my answers for Miss Shelby at this time. And I think that would do it. These are wonderful questions, some never been addressed before. And quite frankly, I can sit here for the next month answering these with citations, with academic research citations, and most recent socially charged issues. But unfortunately, I don't have that luxury of time. Novice Lee just actually just walked in, and I'm running out of breath. So I invite you all to email me any follow-up questions you may have to the number one Vietnamese interpreter at gmail.com, the number one Vietnamese interpreter at gmail.com. And I hope that this does justice. I hope that this was comprehensive and effective questions for your answers to your questions, Ms. Shelby. And I appreciate everyone watching and learning. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to add. Do you think I missed anything? No?
Got it all.
Yeah. Okay, good. And if there's any more, then, feel free. I'm here for all of you. So I like to conclude at this time, and we're going to go offline.